Hello, and thank you so much for being here. My name is Courtney Thomas, and welcome to the Not Your Average Lifestyle podcast. I'm so excited and grateful that you tuned in to this episode, and I'm also excited to share some information and to get some conversation started through this platform. Today's episode is going to be on how we can make our workouts better, more efficient, and maximize the effort and energy that we are exerting through our workouts. What are the best practices when it comes to warming up? What are our best practices when it comes to the workout portion of our or the intense portion of our workouts? We're gonna split this into two because I really want to focus on each part, both the warm up and also the work of your workout. The reason why I'm doing this is because I feel like over the years of me being a trainer, I've heard so many different misconceptions and so many different views on warm ups. I know there are, with certain people, they just don't like warming up. They don't think it's necessary. Some people think it's optional. And I really want to handle a lot of these myths and get the facts straight on how we should be viewing our warm-ups. So for today's episode, we're definitely just going to focus on just the warm-up aspect of the workout. And we'll get into that, and I'll definitely explain more about what it takes to create a successful warm-up when it comes to our workouts. First off, why do we warm up? What is the benefit? What are the benefits of warming up? Well, there are few. There are actually a lot of benefits to warming up. I'll take just a few of them. I'll take just three of them. Number one, it increases our heart rate and our respiratory rate. Now, why is that important? Some people might be like, well, I don't want my heart rate to increase, right? But it's not that it's going to increase your maximum heart rate. Our maximum heart rate is set. That's just going to stay where it's going to be. But increasing our heart rate is important as far as getting our body prepared for the work. So not only will it increase our heart rate and getting us prepared, but it's also going to increase the capacity of our heart rate, meaning maybe not our heart rate getting closer to our max heart rate as fast. We might be able to condition ourselves to kind of pace ourselves with our heart rate. But our warming up will definitely help with this in both the areas of heart rate and also with our respiratory rate. So once again, the heart rate has to do with increasing the capacity of our cardiovascular system. Respiratory rate has to do more with getting the blood flowing to active muscles, increasing our oxygen capacity. These are the things that warming up will do for us cardiovascular wise. It also is going to increase our tissue temperature. Now, what does that mean? Well, on top of our muscles, we have soft tissue, and we want to get that warmed up because these are the things that are going to be moving. They're going to be active. And by making sure that we have them warmed up before we go to the more intense portion of our workout, we're making sure we keep our muscles in a safe area, and we're making sure we increase the effectiveness of our muscles as well. So, tissue temperature. This is the point that I really wanted to focus in on. Why? There's a common misconception out there that after you work out, if you're not sore, that means somehow that you didn't do what you're supposed to, or you didn't get as much as you wanted to get out of your workout. And then to the other end, you're pretty much saying that if you're not sore, that means you didn't do anything, or you're using being sore as a kind of a gauge for if you got a good workout or if your muscles really worked or not. So going back to one of the benefits of warming up, increasing tissue temperature. This increases our muscle contraction rate. All right. So what does that mean? Well, when our muscles contract, they tighten. All right. So if I'm doing a bicep curl, right? When I get to the top of my movement, the curl part, my muscle is in a tightened stage. This is in order to build muscle, we do need to go back between the contraction, right? But you can't walk around with just a tight bicep the whole time, right? And when we increase the muscle contraction or the rate of muscle contraction, what we're doing now is when the bicep is at a lengthened stage, right? Here, we're now building more space for our muscle to grow for when we do make it tight, right? Because our bicep is bigger in this position than it is here. So when we improve the contraction rate, we're increasing the capacity for our muscle to grow. And if we don't do that and we're always tight, that means that our muscles are actually smaller. They're more smaller than they are in and having more room to grow. And I'm hoping that makes sense. It also improves the opposing muscle contraction. So I'll go back to a bicep. I feel like this is a very common and easy to understand. When I do bicep curls, my bicep isn't the only thing that's working, right? When I'm here, my bicep is working. But when I release my arm to straight, now my triceps working. So by warming up, we're increasing the relationship. We need both of them in order to get the exercise done. You couldn't do a bicep curl if you didn't have a tricep. Trust me. Couldn't do tricep presses if you didn't have a bicep. So by warming up, we're getting our muscles together. We're helping to recruit, realizing which muscles need to be aware and activated in order to get movements done. So that's just another benefit in explaining what the increase in tissue temperature will do. Third, it increases our psychological preparation, which to me is super important. That could be number one. So, in other words, we're increasing our mental readiness. If I were to get you out of the bed in the morning when you first woke up and say, here, solve this riddle, solve this solve this puzzle, or I don't know, get out of bed and just give me 50 push-ups, you're going to be like, whoa, like I got to get myself together. I got to prepare. So that's what we're doing when we warm up. Preparing ourselves mentally for our workout is actually, to me, one of the things that lacks the most when I see when I'm working with people or when people are telling me about their routines. The mental preparation is so important because we have to remember this is all a kinetic chain. In order for our body to move, our mind has to be present so that it can properly tell our body what to do in order to get things done. So if we're not mentally prepared, can we still go to the gym and can we still get through our workout and get things done? Yes. But will it be the most effective? Absolutely not. So mental preparation through our warm up is very important. It's through this time that we're being intentional with what muscles we want to move, what muscles we want to activate. It's a very important part of our workout. How long should a workout be? Or how long should a warm up be, I should say? Well, depending upon how much allotted time you have for your workout. Let's just take what I feel like most people will say on average. Let's say you have an hour. You have to figure out which part of that hour you want to dedicate to your warm up. At most, and with certain people, if you're a beginner, if you're just getting into workout, it's recommended that you can actually spend half of the time on your warm up part of the workout. So 50% of your workout could be addressed to a warm up. And some might be thinking that's too long. But after we talk about the warm up and how your warm up should look, how you should structure it, that'll make a lot more sense. Now, if you are someone who knows what they're doing, you're in the gym and you kind of got your routine going, of course you can adjust that to whatever your needs are. Hopefully after we speak about how to structure your warm-up today, you'll be better equipped to understand just how long you personally should be taking for your warm-up. All right, so let's get into it. Your warm up, we're going to take it into two stages, okay? We're going to take the core prep or body prep, and then we're going to go into the movement prep. All right? So, first we're going to take your core prep. This I feel has three main components that you want to make sure you get into your warm up every time. Let's remember that this is not an antidote. This is not how your workouts have to be. I'm not telling you that your workout has to consist of all this, but I do want to give you options. I do want to give you different things that you can add to your workouts to make them better, to make them more efficient. And like I said, even if you can't use this in full, there may be little things that you might be able to pick from here and there that might work for you. And if that's the case, wonderful. All right. So once again, core prep and movement prep. This is how we're going to structure our warm-ups. All right. First up is core prep. Three main components. First is soft tissue. This should be number one, no matter what. Well, what is soft tissue? Myofascial release. So this is going to have to do with foam rollers, which I feel most people either have access to, either you own one, or when you're at the gym, they're everywhere. You can get one there. So before you start your workout, foam rolling, myofascial release, soft tissue release is of extreme importance. This is also a time where if you have a Theragun or hyper ice or one of those type of percussive instruments, you can use that as well in place of a foam roller. Anything that's going to get to your soft tissue, release the tension that's going on in there. It's very important to get the tightness out that life brings onto us before we start. So this is a great way to do that. Soft tissue release should be number one. The other two components of your warm-up is going to be both mobility and stability. All right. So we want to now implement core moves, basic core moves that will help us with mobility and stability. And what do I mean by that? Well, think of cat camels, right? Things that help with stability, also help with mobility. Think of planks, bird dogs, crunch variations, things that have us in kind of a plank position or in some type of form. Side planks are also good for this. Pikes are also good for this. Anything where we are holding a core move and we have to pretty much hold that core move maybe by moving an extremity or holding that core move by moving one of our major body parts like you would do in a pike where we're holding the plank, pushing our hips up, but still keeping everything else in plank. So think about moves like that have to deal with both mobility and stability, and that will help to prepare your core. That should be the first thing that we want to take care of, prepare our core for everything that's happening after that, because core needs to be engaged for everything that's going to be happening in our workout. So we want to make sure that's activated first. Okay, so core prep is composed of three things, right? Soft tissue, mobility, stability. Those are the things that we want to focus on as far as our core prep goes. All right. After core prep, we're going to go on to our movement prep, still in the warm up. Your movement prep is going to start with a general warm up. All right. And I want to kind of make sure we cover this and make sure it's understood. A general warm up can just be what most people do. You come to the gym, you do all your planks and things like that on the floor. You get up, you go run on the treadmill maybe for 5 minutes, not at a high intensity, just something to get your heart rate going. You could walk on the treadmill. You can go on a stationary bike. We just want to get the heart rate going here. All right. General warm-ups, recommendations, 5 to 10 minutes. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. And you don't want to build up too high of an intensity here. Because remember, we are still warming up. We still want to prep our body. So general warm-up comes first. All right. Now, after your general warm-up is over, now we're going to focus on some more movement skills. So we're going to focus on glute activation, What do we use for glute activation? Well, some moves that could be used in our core prep. Things like bridges will help with glute activation. Uh, Even doing a deadlift move with no weight, right? Just to focus on us pushing the hips back, on us getting the squeeze in our glutes. Reverse hyphers, if you're familiar with those, is a great way to engage the glutes to get glute activation. All still part of your warm up. Now we're starting to get big muscles involved, important muscles, the drivers that are going to be used in a more intense segment of our workout. All right. Dynamic flexibility is next. Now, everybody may not need this part of your warm up. This is dynamic flexibility is always great, and anybody can use dynamic flexibility, but most importantly or primarily, this is something that if you're doing some form of athletic type training, you're playing a sport and you're training for that, definitely you want to add dynamic flexibility to your warm up. What is dynamic flexibility? Well, think about things like hip swings, prisoner squats. This is a great time to grab some bands. You can do lateral walks and all the types of different band exercises that you may do. This is a great time. Dynamic flexibility to add these moves to your warm up. All right. So this is more of an optional thing, but still necessary depending upon what your training goal is. After dynamic flexibility, we're going to go into movement integration. This is part of corrective exercises. So if you have some type of impairment, it could be rounded shoulders. It can be a forward lean when you squat. It could be your feet moving outward when you squat, your knees going in when you squat. If you're doing any type of exercises to help correct those types of impairments, now is the time to do that. Now that your warm-up has been getting into it, you're pretty juiced up now. So now we want to add these types of moves to our workout. For those that go to the gym and you use the cable machine where you tie the band around your ankle and you do hip abductions, you do kickbacks, things like that, this is a great time to do those type of exercises, because when you're doing those type of exercises, they're really small muscle group exercises. So by getting those small muscle groups activated now, it goes a long way to when you are doing your bigger muscle group exercises, especially for legs, to help to assist where the small muscles are now in on the game with the bigger muscles as well. Does a lot for muscle definition as well when you take care of those smaller muscle groups. All right. So our fifth component, did I say component? Component is central nervous system neural activation. All right. So your central nervous system is your brain and your spinal cord. All right. That's the part of the nervous system that focuses on your brain and your spinal cord. Now, your brain and your spinal cord is that is what coordinates all the activity through all the parts of your body, right? So now we're getting into the kinetic chain. We know phrases like mind-body connection, making that connection. So now we're starting to tie everything together. Most of my clients that I do some form of central nervous system activation with, this is a time where I'll throw in maybe some type of balancing exercise, an exercise where you may have to throw something, or an exercise where you may have to catch something. Remember, keeping the intensity still low, but now we want to turn that switch. We want the brain. We want to improve the relationship between the brain and the body. So we want to make sure our mind is focused. We want to make sure our mind is locked in, tuned in for the heavier and more intense things to come. So here's a way to kind of introduce that now. Central nervous system activation, much forgotten and much neglected part of your warm-up, but very, very, very important. Okay? Warm-ups are important. Why? Because as we went over, they help to improve heart rate. They help to improve our muscle capacity. and also help to improve our mental readiness. They also help to prevent injury. Warm-ups are the best way to help prevent injury. And a lot of times I feel like people think, like I mentioned in the beginning, that if they're not hurting after their workout, they must have not done something right. And I'll tell you, if you are not in pain after your workout and you know in your heart that you did the prescribed things that you were supposed to do, you did a great job. Being in pain after your workout is not the barometer of whether you did a good job or not, or whether you got enough work. Pain is trauma. So when we are super sore, when we can't move the next day, that should be something telling us, maybe I did something wrong. Did I not stretch enough? Did I do one of the moves the wrong way? And if you have a trainer, make sure you're letting them know these things, because it's their job to make sure that in the future this doesn't continue to happen. All right? Once again, I have to say this. I'm looking dead into the camera on this one. Being sore after you work out is not a good thing. And we're not talking about we know the type of sore that is going to come when we do things that we haven't done in a while. That's okay. But if you're working out consistently and every time after you work out, you're sore, there's a problem, all right, that needs to be addressed. So definitely, I hope that you found these tips, these pointers, the structure helpful in making your workouts better. I'm looking forward to talking more about the work portion of your workout next. And in the work portion of your workout, what we will discuss is now going into the more intense part of our workouts. Now we're going to grab some weights or your kettlebells, whatever it is you like to do your resistance training is. Now you like to do your resistance training with. Now we're going to get into that, and we'll talk about how we can maximize our performance, maximize our workouts in the resistance portion, the work portion of our work. Looking forward to talking to you about that. Thank you so much for tuning into how you can make your warm-ups better, building better warm-ups, maximizing your efforts. My name is Courtney Thomas. Thank you for tuning in to Not Your Average Lifestyle. I'll see you the next time.